Hello, Abigail here with the Tarotscopes for Virgo season, Gemini sun, moon, and rising. All right, my Geminis, we are entering into, yes, eclipse season. The eclipses are here. We will experience an on eclipse new moon the minute we enter this season, and then we have two eclipses, one directly in the middle of Virgo season and one at the end. And that's kind of the major astrology you need to know for this video. If you want to know more, you can go check out the astrology of Virgo season is linked below. But yeah, eclipses. And eclipses, well, I don't want to fearmonger, they are moments of chaos. For me, and how I explain it to clients and myself, is it's basically when the energy takes situations and things that are going to an inevitable end and speeds up said end. So if the end is a celebration, you get a much quicker return. If the end is separation or something falling apart, it will fall apart. It can be really stressful feeling, especially if you have something that you feel is falling apart and you're afraid of losing it, which, to be honest, is somewhere I'm currently sitting. But the eclipses will take it where it needs to be. And so, especially if you are feeling some conflict around something, I would just suggest waiting until the final eclipse, which is on the 21st of September, and making your decision based on what is happening around that time, because then you're going to get more clarity, a lot more stuff is going to have happened, and you will also have the energy and the strength with the universe's help to move forward in whatever way you need to, depending on how your life situations and career and relationships and all those things are going. But yeah, that's my little tidbit for this morning as I'm recording these. But the cards have been really interesting this eclipse season because they haven't been so much, all towers and death and stuff. It's a lot of a mixture of opportunity and exhaustion and change and a lot of signals of relational things. But let's get into it. Also, a reminder that the nodes, if you have any placements, we know you have placements in Gemini, but any placements in Sagittarius or Virgo or Pisces, the nodes are in Virgo and Pisces. And so it's squaring these Gemini placements. So there's a bit of tension in this reading. Definitely some wands, but let's get into it. Starting off, we have the Three of Wands. This is about opportunity. This is about portals. The Three of Wands is this moment when kind of everything converges, your effort, the universe, the things you desire and want, and you have to step through that door. Which means in eclipse season, there is something for you to step through. For some of you, it might be a really big, momentous external occasion. For some of you, it's internal and spiritual and about your soul growth, which is both incredibly important and often grossly ignored. So there is something for you to step into, whether it's a belief or a new job or some sort of revelation when it comes to trauma and pain, partially because while I didn't draw the Three of Swords, I got flashed by it while I was shuffling. And this is also a 3. So just know that this is going to happen on a variety of levels. Always check where the nodes are in your chart, what house axis they fall on. That has a lot to say about what you need. Also, if you don't know how to do that, you can always get a reading from someone, me, someone else. It doesn't matter, whoever resonates. But yeah, it is a moment in time where you have an opportunity to step into something, to move through energy with a bit more ease. Now, maybe the moving away from something is not easy, but the stepping into something new is. So don't discount it. It just feels hard to move on from something, but know that the turning of the door handle is not as difficult as you might expect. So reach your hand out and jiggle that knob handle. And then we do have the Ten of Wands. The Ten of Wands is about exhaustion and entrapment in this deck. This bird caged in by wands, obviously in some form of distress. When the Ten of Wands show up, it's often about burnout and overwhelm, and I would encourage you to only focus on what you can do in this season. The external stuff, the things you can't control, other people, I know it can be hard, but to release the need to constantly know what's going on, especially as you are ruled by Mercury, and that's about knowledge and awareness. So allow yourself to just be as much as you can. Obviously, we have the Three of Wands, we have this portal we're stepping into, but all of the extraneous things, the overwhelm, the stuff that we cannot manage or change, let that be where it is. Maybe you need to give yourself a deadline to clear things. And also, the Ten of Wands aren't innately bad. You might also just have way too many passion projects on the table, and maybe you need to cull them down a little bit. Save some for the winter, and focus on the things that you really want in this moment rather than having, 10 projects. Um, but yeah, you can do both and like I said, I think the overwhelm also is going to come from this feeling of having to leave something behind, having to change something. When we move forward, we leave things in the past. And oftentimes, especially if you're a really interconnected person, if you do really value your friendships and your relationships, it can also feel like you are leaving people behind. And I would encourage you to just think of it as taking different paths. They still go on their own path and you go on yours. And part of the reason I'm kind of heavily focusing on relationships, or at least slowly heading that direction, is you do have the lovers. We're not quite there yet, but there is a heavy emphasis on people and places. And also, the fun thing about eclipses is that we can find really unique relationships within eclipses, and we can lose really unique relationships within eclipses. Um, Always two sides to that coin, very Gemini. But we do have this King of Swords. It is time to ask yourself what you truly want, what you truly need, not what is available to you, not what is possible within the constructs of this moment. This is very North Node in Pisces. What is possible for the future? What can you dream into existence? What in this moment may feel out of reach, but you technically have the power to step forward and claim? Um, you know, things, a lot of the Geminis I know attract a lot of energy. And so sometimes I find that Geminis tend to kind of let life happen. It's not a bad thing. But there are some moments where you are going to have to go towards the object that you want to attract and to claim it as a form of process with the universe to kind of stake your claim on something, to prove, in a sense, that this is what you want and what you need. And of course, there's always a chance that you may not get it and that's not quite the thing that is meant for you. But the action of moving towards things that you want and claiming them boldly sends a pretty strong message to the universe of what you need and desire. And, especially with what we have going on here, these cards, it reaffirms your place. And, going back to the Ten of Wands and the Three of Wands, a lot of the cards right now are mostly you affirming things to the universe, you working with the universe to create a path forward. Because I don't really believe in um, complete destiny in the sense of like, I have a life and I'm going to have to live these X, Y, and Z things. There are always karmic crossroads, and there are no twos in this spread, but two is very much the number. Well, there is kind of, it is the number 4 in the deck, but, no, number six in the deck. But there are two figures in lovers pretty much all the time, because you cannot, love something without the thing that you love. So just know that there are options in this moment, that you are here to make choices. A part of being an air sign is the learning to make choices. People who have prominent air placements are constantly put up against decisions, and having to be in one of two minds and deal with the multi-dimension of their existence and their understanding of their place in the world, which can be really exhausting. Very Ten of Wands. But once you realize that that is a part of your story, then you can kind of honor the decision-making process and play with it and see if you can do both, and see if you can take one road and then jump to another. Some of you are probably very good at cosmic traveling. There's a lot of gifting in the signs that you have in your chart, especially if you're a Gemini. So don't forget that in this season, where you are making choices, where you're having to pick and to choose things. And then we do have the lovers. And this is about relationship. Maybe it is romantic, maybe it is family, maybe it is friends. This card is about connection and about finding people with which we find safety and care and feel heard with. And so I think your sign in this season is to only go where you are heard and listened to. There's no point anymore in fighting for a place at the table when the table itself is broken. and empty and surrounded by people who don't really have your best interest at heart. Now is the time to find the places where you belong and shine and enjoy. A lot of the places that are barred to us are barred to us not because they're special or better, because those people want to keep power and want to make other people pursue power in order to distract them from dismantling the system as a whole. So don't play into their little game. Find connection and joy and care where you can and where it is needed and as you will and in the way that you want, rather than looking for an invitation from an external source. With this King of Swords, the invitation is you. And then last but not least, we do have Four Pentacles. This is about resources, about where you put resources, how you spend them, where you're investing your time and your energy. It also feels very connected to our Three of Wands. You know, we're going to make this decision and move into this portal, but the portal is going to require us to know what we have and to know what we bring and what we need on the other side of these things. It's also very much, we may have ignored our need for certain things in the past, especially with the Ten of Wands. That's how we've kind of gotten to this point of exhaustion. So take some time to see what you need and what you want. Also, this reminds me of kind of my favorite way to manifest, which is through feelings and desires. Instead of manifesting something exact, manifesting how you would like to feel on the other side. View these little pentacles that you're swallowing as the feelings that you want, as the feelings that you need. The Four Pentacles can be a bit of a hog, but it is not bad to crave happiness and joy and comfort and care. And so crave them and integrate them into your life and only seek out situations where that exists. And instead of feeling, it reminds me of a song, I can't remember his name in this moment, but he was a queer man in a time when queer people weren't accepted. And his song was, "Why did they shut me out of heaven? Did I sing too loud?" They didn't shut you out of heaven. They told you it was heaven and they shut the door and didn't tell you that hell existed on the other side. So know that the spaces that are meant for you are better than the spaces that you're barred from. And a part of finding those spaces where you belong is to create a world where there are no barriers to access, to joy, to food, to clothing, to housing. Stop pursuing things that aren't really meant for you and that will lead you to this, and start pursuing what leads to this and this. And I think eclipse season is going to teach you how to do these things and redirect the way you think about things and what you desire. Doesn't mean that the dreams that you have now aren't valuable, but I think you're going to experience a richening and enrichment to those dreams and get some insight on how to get them, especially with that North Node Pisces eclipse in the middle. I think it's on the 7th, 6th or 7th, depending on what time zone you're in, of September. So keep an eye out. Anyway, my Gemini, this reading was very multitudinous, very on brand for you. And I wish you the best in finding what you deserve and in achieving it, and also in the leaving things behind that are no longer meant for you. Anyways, if you like these videos, please like and subscribe, and I will see you all in different spaces.